The name of this tape is Humanity. Um, Maybe hard to understand what I mean by the word humanity. Using the word humanity in reference to, say, myself and others, even Jesus for that matter, others of us who are let's say, developed ministries or prophets of God or whatever and what have you. Uh, there's a there's a statement in one of the Gospels where it says, "For Jesus didn't give himself to man, for he knew what was in him." Didn't explain, and then he said somewhere else. He said, "For foxes have holes and birds have nests, but the Son of Man hath nowhere to lay down his head." Uh, what seems anticlimactic to all this regime with Jesus is that during the time that Jesus was alive and carrying on with people and that, it wasn't necessarily a joyride, as one could imagine. He slept under bridges. He was oftentimes invited to dinner, and then, but then yet also, took on his ministerial callings, as it were, to be a priest after the order of Levi, because he started at the age of 30, and so he had humanity needs, and he probably needed friends and so on. He did have friends, but he was still on target for the program, and it's it's kind of a it's kind of an odd quirk, the apostles were always running to him about this, that, and the other thing. Of course, we don't know we don't know everything that went on. The Gospels don't talk about everything, but one could assume that probably talked to him no differently than he would have talked to anybody else. He probably shot the bull with him, or who knows, or whatever. A lot of the Gospels are filled up with a lot of parabolic writing, but then you could probably say that a lot of the most significant parts of the Bible are written parabolically. Whether or not such events happen the way they happened is open for debate. In my own life, I go to different groups and so on, and some of them sometimes are spiritual, and but of course what they want me to do is they want me to take all the things that I know and my abilities and just leave it outside the church, and then when I come in I should be one of the bleeding little lambs, and then when I don't play their game or I don't give in and so on, I usually sit way in the back of the church and I watch what's going on. So it's usually a three-ring circus. They'll often want me to come in there and get close to them, and I don't want to get too close because I want them to start laying their hands on me, and then when they do that, I have to throw off their devils that they impart to me, and their Christian Christian witchcraft or white witchcraft, that imparts spirits that force me to make me want to come to their church, all under the context of, well, we're doing this in Christian love. But I have needs of humanity. I like to be involved with people and so on. Sometimes it's better to be involved with people that are not necessarily Christians, that are secular, to have no religious affiliations, and sometimes those relationships are easier to engender and encounter as well. Most Christians, in my experience, have been one of very argumentative, or usually want me to pinpoint me to some situation like, well, where do I go to church, and why am I under a pastor, and this, that, and the thing. And then, of course, if I come out and say, well, I'm a prophet, and it's, oh, you need to be under an apostle, few of those that understand that kind of stuff, and then it gets kind of harried because I have to sometimes explain uh, who I am and why I can't and why I shouldn't. I've had certain ministries I used to talk to outside their church and who were pretty good ministries. One was a certain guy was in the neighborhood of mine. He was an Assemblies of God pastor. But I told him it wasn't advisable for me to go into his church and carry on, because the problem I have is that there are people in their church that are might just be really hungry, and they might pick up something in the spirit that I might have a little bit more on the ball than what they might have thought I had on the ball, and then it creates a conflict of interest. And I had that happen one time in one church. I made one remark, and this one guy, every time I came to church, to that place, he came over and said, "Oh, how you doing today? And can I take you out to dinner? And can I do this?" Like a rickshaw boy. And yet he was still my own age, and so on. And even that church there, that group there, had another minister leader, and he too wondered why I didn't partake or participate more, or say more in the group. And I said, I don't like to. It's not my. It's not my position to build on another man's foundation, and also to create conflict and confusion. I mean, there may be still a lot of conflicts and confusions that will still go on. Anything I need to say to a church head or something like that, I'd rather do it in an email. Years ago, I used to do it in letters, or I would go to them directly, but never in front of a congregation. I mean, yeah, there's verses will say, if any man have aught against his brother, let him go to him, and if not them before two or three, and then before the congregation. But usually, my contentions are not with people within the church. Those may be varied in many. They're usually the same thing as I've already expressed. But anytime it has to do with a ministry, those things are usually dealt with in private. And usually when I get involved in those things, I'm usually involved with something that's usually pretty messed up and not very desirable, and would be something that most people would want to hear about. And if they heard about it, they'd be shocked. But for those of you out there who have other brothers and sisters that don't necessarily match up to your goal or what you think Christ should be doing, or because they're not going to your church, don't think them gone or lost. They actually might have more on the ball than you do, but can't say anything because of I don't know what the right word would be, professional courtesy or conflict of interest. Or it may just be that maybe they don't know anything at all. They just don't know how to get along. The church's experience should be one of ongoing experience and a lot of joy and happiness, but oftentimes it isn't, and it's too bad. The early church was a very happy event. Today's church is I don't know, sort of a glorified country club with the pastor being the concierge.